distinguished panelists, dear moderator, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you here at Saqib's presentation regarding climate change and green development in South Asia region. Actually, Saqib is an intergovernmental organization established in 1982 by the government of South Asia to promote and support protection, management, and enhancement of the environment in the region. Saqib member countries are Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And the main vision of Saqib, a healthy environment, resilient society, and environmental prosperity for the present and future generation. So as you asked very early that actually what is the role of Saqib in catalyzing climate change or climate action, what Saqib is doing in South Asia region. So if I go one by one, you could see that since our establishment in the year 1982, Saqib has placed significant operational emphasis on promoting and supporting the protection and management of environment in South Asia region. Climate change is one of the main areas we are focusing on. Then I like to tell about you see that the importance of our regional works was recognized when in 1988, the Malé Declaration on Control on Prevention of Air Pollution and its like transboundary effect for South Asia was adopted by the Ministers of Environment at the 7th Governing Council meeting of Saqib. In this meeting, the number of states reaffirmed their commitment to tackling the transboundary air pollution together. The Malé Declaration is the only intergovernmental agreement on environment which covers all South Asian countries. Then I'd like to draw your attention towards the virtual workshop, what Saqib in partnership with the UNFCCC organized a virtual training on preparation and submission process of updated NDC, the cut-wise guidance of NDC to its member countries. The aim of this training was to enhance the technical capacity of Saqib member states in their preparation and updated NDC in 2020 in line with further guidance relevant for the preparation and communication of NDCs. Saqib also initiated another program with the Asian Development Bank, jointly organized a webinar entitled Leveraging NDC in COVID-19 Recovery in South Asia Countries on last February. This regional webinar, it's aimed to enhancing the understanding of the twin challenges of climate changes and COVID-19, as well as the opportunity of pursuing low carbon and climate resilient recovery. This year on March, Saqib and the World Bank jointly organized the South Asia Regional Workshop on Ambient Air Pollution and Public Health, a World Bank regional flagship study, it is departed, to emphasize the need of strengthening national policy and measures to reduce air pollution and mitigation the adverse effect of air pollution on human health across the region. And finally, regarding an upcoming event, I'd like to draw your attention that very importantly, we wish to organize a side event during the upcoming COP26 under the theme, Good Practice in NDC, Update Process, Implementation and Nitrogen Climate Opportunity in South Asia, Challenges and Lesson Learned. The proposed side event would be highlight the importance of NDC updated process and will be ideal platform for Saqib member states to share their good practice, exchange their experience in the NDC updated process and challenges in the NDC implementation. Moreover, Saqib in partnership with ADB is planning to organize a virtual training workshop on impact evaluation and MRV capacity building towards end of this year. Actually, these all the things Saqib is catalyzing in climate action. Now I like to go towards my next slide, as you asked that, what is the state of planning towards carbon neutrality in South Asia? The transformation of South Asia to greener, resilient economies would touch 1.5 billion people in a region with already many developing needs. The financing needs for achieving a successful mitigation plan in the region are large and conditional on extensive support and assistance from the international community, as shown in South Asia NDC's targets, which also incorporate the general pledge of assistance by developed countries. Within the SACEP region, we are happy to mention that 5 of our 8 member states have already submitted their updated NDC with complete information and detail on ambition and targets as compared with their previous submission. As you told that what the challenges we are now facing here in the South Asia region, contacting these sort of businesses, especially for the climate change aspects, our member states, what's the challenges we are now facing? There are so many challenges, no doubt. In generally, I like to discuss, as time constraint is there, I will be just highlighting main points here, few challenges like, especially 4 challenges I like to mention. It's development challenges, technology challenges, policy challenges, and also the environmental challenges we're now facing here. And as a pioneer regional organization, SACEP is working with its member countries on a number of fronts to advance the implementation of their NDCs, such as, now I like to mention one by one, where we are now assisting. Exchange of best practice of views related to NDC implementation planning, including linkages to SDG processes. We have the joint capacity building program. We have the identifying concrete opportunity for action in translating NDCs into actionable projects. Leveraging financial flow, including private sector engagement in the context of NDC implementation. And SACEP will remain committed to continue to work with our member countries as well as with the all development partners who remain steadfast on their obligation under the Paris Agreement. Dear participants, I'd like to draw your kind attention towards the South Asia regional opportunities. Actually, what opportunity have presently existing in South Asia? We know each risk posed by climate change also present an opportunity. Adaptation and mitigation measures intended to address the impact of climate change require significant investment to make the South Asia economy more resilient. Creating markets for climate resilient infrastructure, climate smart agriculture, renewable energy, sustainable transport, industry energy efficiency, and green and resilient building, among other, can present significant investment opportunity. I'd like to mention one example related to the energy sector in India can be, I think, very much relevant and mentionable. The Indian government is working to address the country's growing air pollution problem. The urgent priority, along with the recognition that there is a growing risk of stranded assets as the world transition to a low carbon future, has influenced the Indian government's decision to stop building coal plant after 2022. The Energy and Resources Institute found that if the right policy are in place and the cost of renewable energy continued to fall at the same rate, India could phase out coal completely by 2050. The growth in renewable energy is also creating jobs in India, which is very much a mentionable amount. Near about 621,000 people employed directly or indirectly in the sector in the year 2016. Dear colleagues, now I'd like to go towards your next question regarding the green development in the South Asia region. As I told you earlier, that the transition to a green economy requires easy access to market and resources, among other things. This will not be possible without regional integration at the political, business, knowledge, and technological level. South Asian countries have to sign treaties that improve allocation and distribution of resources in the region. The sharing of common borders and facing the same challenges pertaining to climate change is a good enough reason for these countries to share their best practices with respect to policies, schemes, and programs, and to come together to think on the lines of green economy projects that build on energy interconnection, renewable energy initiatives, and research and innovation networks. Some successful interventions such as Nepal's environmental community-based convention model and Bhutan measures. Definitely Bhutan measures for promoting a green economy through intervention, promotional global national happiness, ecosystem, etc. can be replicated by partner nations. And SACEP is trying to implement within their member states to follow Bhutanese model, I think. But as even better way to facilitate this is to encourage member states to unite, together to form common interest hubs consisting academicians, subject matter experts, researchers, to look into sector-wise environmental concerns. Most importantly, the 2020, we have this, the SACEP strategy, 2030 strategy we have highlights under its goal number 5 on strengthening low emission development, improve resources efficiencies for transition to an inclusive green economy and foster sustainable and health lifestyle. In conclusion of my speech, what I'd like to include, Bangladesh is also striving in this situation, and they are also trying to develop their connectivity, decreasing their fossil fuel using, rather they are increasing all the renewable energy they are now turned out. And a few days earlier, they have submitted their NDCs, the latest version, and they have already focused all the aspects, areas where actually climate change is very important and importantly can play the role. So with this, dear moderator, I'd like to conclude. Thanks for your patience hearing. If there is any question, I'd like to address, and that will be much more comfortable for me, as there is a formal presentation, I think, from SACEP. And SACEP is doing for the South Asia region and always committed doing for the member states with the development partners, thinking all together. And SACEP always believe if we could do something for the region in a holistic manner for the climate change aspects, it will be significant, remarkable, and best practice for us. Thank you very much.